So, welcome to Vlogtober day 6. This is me fresh out of the gym, just waiting for the other half to get home from work before we can enjoy a nice steak and chip tea and a little bit of the bubbly stuff. So I thought for Vlogtober day 6 it would be a good opportunity for me to basically share a little bit about myself with you. So the majority of you who watch this probably have followed my YouTube channel for a little while. So you're probably crafty and you come along for the crafty content, the sewing, the knitting, the crochet. But I've also got quite a lot of people who follow me on Facebook and other forms of social media and who have been following me over the last few months as I've kind of done quite a lot of self-development work and basically built my business up a little bit more and changed the way I live my life quite a bit. So I've had some followers come to me through that route as well. So I thought it might be quite nice to basically do a little introduction as to who I am, how I got where I am, why I do what I do, and basically have a little chat with you. So that's what I'm going to do. So I am 38 and I live in a 3-bedroom house in a town called Billericay, which is in Essex. As you know, I've got 2 completely crazy children who are 6 and 10, and my lovely but sometimes strange husband, Stuart. He's really not one for being on the camera, performing, or really showing very much of himself at all. So when you do see him, he'll probably be really sarcastic, or what you probably don't see is that he tends to swear at the camera quite a lot, so I can't even use the footage. So I think you've seen him twice already on Vlogtober, which for 6 days isn't too bad, but I'm not sure how much more of him you'll see. So I grew up in Billericay, my parents live in Billericay, and I lived here until I was 21. So I went to school though in Brentwood, and I went to St Martin's. So I commuted every day from Billericay to Brentwood to go to school, and then when I finished what is now year 11, so when I was at school was the 5th year, and I was 15, I left school after my GCSEs and I went to college, and I went to Southend College and I went and studied performing arts. So I have always been creative. I was never particularly academic. I used to like to paint, although I can't draw for toffee. I did used to like to play with colour and be quite creative with collage, mixed media, textile, that kind of thing. I studied art for my GCSEs and I studied drama for my GCSEs, and I was always in all of the school productions. I never got a main part in the school productions, but I did used to get kind of, you know, that next level down. So you're not chorus, but you're not a main part either. So we did some good shows, although disappointingly, the year that I left, the school finally decided to do Grease. So I was very, very annoyed because I wanted to do that, but never mind. So I went to study performing arts at college for 2 years. It was a little bit different. I think I preferred kind of the musical theatre, and I liked a bit of Shakespeare when I was at school, but college wasn't like that. College was very much arty, so a lot of movement, physical theatre, a lot of the more kind of weird and wonderful wacky stuff, really, I guess, and I did enjoy it, but it wasn't actually something that I then decided I wanted to pursue with as a career. I think the main reason though that I didn't do that was that I had a boyfriend in the last year of college who was very much, right, we're going to get engaged, we're going to get married, we're going to buy a house together, and we're going to live the normal life. And so I came out of college engaged at the age of 17 and deciding that I needed to go and get a proper job, and I couldn't be an actress. So I went and got an office job, and I did a couple of office jobs on and off, and then we actually split up, which is ridiculous. And then we got back together again, and he had decided that he was going to go and travel the world. And basically, if I wanted to be with him, I had to do that too. So I packed up my bags and I went with him, and we went to Australia, and we spent 10 months backpacking backpacking around Australia. We had an amazing time. We met some fantastic people. We did some fabulous things. I worked my arse off while I was in Australia. I did waitressing, I worked in offices, I did a lot of marketing, a lot of promotion work, working on the markets and the big kind of ideal home shows, that kind of thing, doing a lot of promotional stuff. And I really had a wonderful time. And I think the difference with traveling now to how it was when I went is that now the internet and social media means that you can literally stay completely in contact with your family. You can let them know what you're up to every single day. Wherever you go, there's Wi-Fi, and it's not like you're on the other side of the world. When I was there, if my family wanted to get in touch with me, they had to write to me via the post restaurant system. So they would send letters to the post office in the city I was staying in. And every week I would go to the post office in the vain hope that someone had sent me a letter. And then I'd have to arrange when to phone my parents. So I'd have to go and buy a calling card from the post office or from the supermarket, wherever, and arrange a good time with my mum to speak to them, phone them up until all the credit went on my card. And then just at the end of the call, I'd make the next appointment to phone them again. And that was the only way of staying in touch. So it really was like you were on your own on the other side of the world and you were learning. And I honestly think that that 10 months of my life was one of the most important learning curves for me and really helped me build my confidence and basically learn to stand on my own 2 feet. So I will certainly be encouraging my kids to go travelling, and I'll probably make them go to more far-flung places than Australia and America now, because I want them to experience that sort of inability to be able to phone home or easily access the internet, so that they actually do have to function for themselves without the power of Google. But we shall see whether they do it or not. So I was 20 when I came home from Australia. Bumbled around for a couple of years, broke up with that boyfriend, had another one, broke up with him, and then I had an office job in Billericay and I was working in an insurance company, and that's when I met Stuart. So I was 21 when we met and we've been together ever since. So that is, oh gosh, can't do the math, 17 years, coming on 18 years that we've been together. We moved in together quite quickly. We got married when we were 23, 24 roughly, I can never remember. And we've been married for coming up 15 years. So we have been together for a long while, obviously. Our children are 6 and 10, so you can do your own maths as to how long we were together before we had them. But when I was pregnant with Thomas, so that would have been about 11 years ago, I started making cards and doing crafts and things like that in my spare time. And I started to sell things to my friends and family. My work colleagues would order cards from me, they'd order little handmade gifts and bits and bobs. I went through a phase of making soaps and bath bombs and kind of doing the craft fair circuit at the weekends and the pamper night circuit in the evenings, as well as working a full-time job, just to basically make some money from my hobby. And that's exactly what it was. But I soon realised that really there wasn't an amazing amount of money to be made in crafts. It was really hard to set yourselves above that kind of hobby crafter and actually make an income from your crafts, mainly because there are so many hobby crafters out there and that they don't price their work accordingly, and so they don't actually earn anything on what they make. They just pay themselves back for the materials that they've used, and they might put a tiny markup on it, but they certainly never earn any money for their time. And it just became progressively harder and harder to actually make any money, and actually I was slogging my guts out for absolutely nothing, even though I did enjoy crafting. And that's when people said to me, you really should think about teaching, Claire, maybe go into teaching people to make the things that you make. And I sort of took it from there really over a number of years. But it wasn't until Isabel was, where was she? No, she wasn't even born. It wasn't till I was pregnant with Isabel. I was working for the local authority at the time. I had a very well paid job, and I was very fortunate that they decided to make me redundant. They made me redundant when I was past 22 weeks pregnant. So for any of you who work in human resources, you will know that at that point in your pregnancy, you are still entitled to maternity leave, even if you are made redundant. So not only did I receive a nice redundancy payout, I also received my maternity pay, which for me, working in the job that I worked in, was almost a year's worth of money at full pay. So that, on top of my redundancy, meant that I had enough to live on for a couple of years. So for the first 2 years after Isabel was born, I was working officially for myself. I was self-employed. Now, I'm useless with money. Anyone who knows me knows that. So I did actually give all of that money to my mum, and every month she paid me a salary into my bank account. So she divided it up by 24 and paid me a salary every single month, so that I always had an income, which was really nice, and it meant I could just focus on the business. So about a year in, I think it was, Thomas started school, and I met the lovely Jim Radford at the school gates. So he was there dropping off his son, who has become very, very, very good friends with Tom. And he introduced me to his lovely wife, Natasha, and they were in the process of setting up a children's bookshop. Now, that children's bookshop started in October of the year, oh gosh, 5 years ago now. And when they opened the lovely Chicken and Frog bookshop in Brentwood, I joined in with them and opened up a little corner of the shop selling my little handmade products. And in the back room during the day and at the weekends, I would teach craft classes. So I was really thankful for them for giving me that opportunity to actually step away from teaching at home, have a space to teach, have a space where my crafts were visible to people, and really start to make a name for myself locally as somebody who taught sewing and craft classes. And so, although Beautiful Things as a company has been around for years, it never used to teach classes. It certainly developed every single year over about sort of 8 years really, before it became what it is now. So only 4 months in, I felt absolutely awful when I did this. It still makes me feel sick. But 4 months in, I stumbled, literally I was driving down the road and there was a big hoarding up outside this farm building, very, very close to where I was living at the time. And I saw this hoarding and it was for rent, enterprise space, units to rent. And I was like, that looks really nice. I wonder what they do in there. I'm actually just going to go and have a look. I wasn't looking for anywhere. I wasn't looking to move. I was just interested because it was right on my doorstep to know actually what it was and what it was all about. So I pulled in, looked at the unit that was available, saw, obviously you've seen the outside of my studio, it's beautiful, saw the big lovely archway and the doors, put my head up against the glass and looked in, and my studio was right there in front of me. It was calling my name. It just felt so unbelievably right. So I literally picked up the phone to the agent, phoned them then and there while I was outside the door and asked for a viewing, and the landlord actually came out of the house. The agent got in touch with the landlord, he came out of the house and he showed me round, and I literally signed on the dotted line that afternoon. It was so quick. But of course then I had to go back to Chicken and Frog and sit down and tell Natasha I was leaving. So this coming March, the BTHQ studio, Beautiful Things headquarters, as it was named by one of my lovely clients, Miriam, will be 4. So yeah, BTHQ will be 4 this March, which is amazing. But what that also means is Chicken and Frog will also be 4, because they are still going strong, which is absolutely fabulous. So that's basically, you know, how I got to be where I am. But obviously over the last 4 years, that business has grown, it's developed, and I've grown, I've developed. I've been doing, certainly in the last 2 years, an awful lot of self-development work. I've been doing lots of networking, I've been going to lots of meetings and events that have helped me grow my network, that have helped me form relationships with other business women, and I've learned absolutely loads from them. I've discovered the most amazing business mentor who I've been working with for the past 6 months now, and I've expanded my business even further. Back in August this year, we took on the unit next door. When that became available, we knocked through, and I've now doubled the size of my studio. So that means I've doubled the amount of classes we have on offer. I've had to take on external tutors who come in and work for me so we can have 2 classes running at once. And yeah, it's growing, the business is growing, it's going from strength to strength. But I think the most important thing that keeps it alive is my amazing clients, my fantastic customers. Getting them in the first place is hard. Getting word of mouth out there that we exist can be tricky. But once they come in and they see what an amazing place it is and they feel so unbelievably at home, it's very, very unusual that clients don't come back for a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time to the studio. I very, very rarely get people that come and then never come back. So it's a really fantastic, I'm really, really lucky. It's a great job to have. It's hard work because at the moment I do absolutely everything from the marketing, the class planning, the accounts, getting it all on the website, keeping the website running, the stock control, teaching the classes, paying the tutors, organising the tutors. Absolutely every job I do myself, and I look after the children, and I do my best to look after the home. And that is why in recent months I've been a lot more what you see is what you get. I haven't been coming on camera or going onto Instagram or social media with all my hair in perfect place, with all perfect makeup on, giving the impression that that is who I am, because I firmly believe that people buy from people. And when it comes to selling my products and selling what I can give to you, which is an amazing space for you to come and learn something new, build your confidence levels, raise your self-esteem. I don't need to be all picture perfect with perfect makeup and perfect hair. It's just not necessary. And it's why I've been working a lot over the last few months on myself as well, and developing my own personal self. So you'll have noticed I've hit the gym recently, and I'm going to be talking about that and that journey with my personal trainer in a little bit more detail in another vlog that I think would be quite interesting for anybody looking to make that kind of change later on in Vlogtober. So that's me, normal everyday mum. I do the same things that all you mums do. I do the school run, I take them to rainbows, I go to swimming lessons, I deal with the play dates, I cook them dinners, I try to make them eat them, I wash their clothes, I don't iron their clothes, I don't do that, I don't do ironing. The only thing I treat myself to, as you saw yesterday, is a once a week clean, because I deserve it. And you know what? I've got a bottle of fizz in the fridge and I'm going to open it and I'm going to enjoy it. So thank you for watching my random ramble. I hope you enjoyed finding out a little bit more about me, how I got where I am today, and basically spent 20 minutes getting to know me a bit better. So I will thank you very much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for Vlogtober day 7.